The content you're about to enjoy comes from the archives of The Best You. We're devoted to the very best in personal development, with a platform and resources dedicated to inspiring and changing people's lives. At The Best You, we work with the world's leading writers and trainers on the evolution of the self, and people whose journeys have been affected by their work and words. These Best You EXPO talks are recorded in front of a live audience in a live event. We highly recommend that you focus on the message. As they say, what you focus on expands. Enjoy. Jim Kwik. Jim Kwik is the CEO of Kwik Learning. He's a brain coach on a mission to create a smarter and more caring world by giving you back your power. Yes, his real name is Kwik, and he didn't change it for the business. Kwik teaches you how to learn so that you can work your brain to its full potential. Kwik is widely recognized as a world expert in speed reading, memory improvement, brain performance, and accelerated learning. For over 2 decades, he has served as a brain coach to students, seniors, entrepreneurs, and educators, and is an advisor to many leading CEOs and celebrities. His clients include Virgin, Nike, Zappos, GE, Fox Studios, Harvard, Singularity University, just to name a few. He is a host of the popular podcast Kwik Brain, which is consistently a #1 training show in iTunes. And Kwik Learning online courses are used by students with over 150 countries. Kwik is here to upgrade your brain with memory training you will always remember. Jim spoke at the Best You EXPO in Long Beach, and in his talk, the title of his talk is Master Your Mind and Memory, How to Learn Anything Faster and Remember the Names of Everyone You Meet. Now, Jim is, as I said, a leading memory expert, but he is using cutting-edge techniques delivered by his trademark's entertaining presentation style. Kwik teaches you how to learn and to master any subject faster and shares tools to fix mental fog, fatigue, and forgetfulness, which is obviously helps you to increase productivity. I've had the pleasure of meeting Jim a few times in several events like Mind Valley and obviously at the Best You EXPO. He's a great guy, down to earth. He pretty much knows everyone, and everyone knows Jim. This is a phenomenal talk, and it was an honor for Jim to be speaking at the Best You EXPO. So I have no doubt that this is one that you should listen to, because you're going to learn some fascinating and interesting techniques. So enjoy. Thank you so much.
Welcome, everybody. How's everyone doing? Fantastic. So we talk about being the best version of you. How many people are committed to being their best self? Yeah. And so over the next 60 minutes, I'm going to share with you the best of what I know to really help you to upgrade your greatest wealth building asset, which is your what? Yeah, it's your brain. It's your mind, because it controls what? It controls everything. And so this is a good group here. I have no slides or anything. I'm actually going to treat this as a coaching program. I want the next 60 minutes to be worth as valuable for you as anything else that you've had here. And also, actually, if you just came to this, I want you to feel like your time and your money was 10 times well spent. How many people are ready for that? Okay, good. So what I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to ask you to stand up real quick. I'm going to make this interactive because I feel like when people say knowledge is power, I think it's a lie. I don't think it's power. Knowledge is not power, it's potential power, right? When does it become power? Yeah, when we take action. How many people are up to taking some action here? Okay, so when we talk about learning, I help people to learn any subject or skill faster. And I'm going to show you the secrets on exactly how to do that. How many people, just give me a framework here. How many people here listen to my podcast? Fantastic. Okay, so thank you, because thank you for making the #1 training show on iTunes. So it's called Kwik Brain. You can just search your podcast app for it on your phone. Who are the fastest learners on the planet? Children. How fast can children learn a music? How many people here have kids? How many people here once was a kid? How fast can they learn a musical instrument compared to an adult? How fast can they learn another language compared to adults? Really fast. But here's the key. What do? Why do you think kids learn so fast compared to adults? Yeah, they have questions. They have this sense of wonder. Rumi says this, trade your cleverness for bewilderment. I mean, when's the last time you felt bewildered about something, right? And children, they play all the time, right? And I feel like as we grow older, we don't play as much. And I think it's actually the opposite. I think we stop playing so we grow older. Do you know what I mean? And so I believe that here's the key. So I'm going to talk about how to have an incredible memory. How many people came here today like to have a better memory? How many people forgot why you came here today? Have you ever done that? Have you ever walked into a room of like your own home and you forget why you're there? Ever open the refrigerator? Or you ever do this? You ever go to the store to buy like one thing and you come back with like 2 bags of things except for what? Like that one thing you needed to buy. Or how many people feel absent-minded, like senior moments are coming too early? Like maybe you're taking a shower and you can't remember if you shampooed your hair. So you end up doing it like 2 or 3 times. Or how many people have ever read a page in a book and forgotten what you just read? Right? And you go back. Or how many people, you forget people's names? Anybody? Right? You shake their hands. As soon as you're done shaking their hand, the name just drops right to the floor and you're like, you wonder where it is. And so I'm going to show you how to fix all that. Fix your forgetfulness. But one of the keys is this, is being able to play more. Because I respect all of you for being here because I believe success is 2 things. Success is, first half is just showing up because most people don't show up. You know how many people could have been here, but they're not here? So I respect you being here because even here, it's not just the money, it's your time. Because your time and your attention is your most valuable asset. Yes or yes? Right? Because you can't get that back. Right? And so I respect you for being here. So I'm going to give you 100%. But who also has to give 100% also? You do, right? And so I'm going to ask you to play full out. So what we're going to do is I'm going to ask you to pair up with someone you do not know. So get in groups of 2. Find someone you do not know. Introduce yourself. Go. Raise your hand if you need a partner. Raise your hand if you need a partner. Find somebody who's else to raise their hand. Move around. Find somebody who's raising their hand. Find a partner. Raise your hand if you need a partner. Does anyone need a partner? Maybe you could be my partner. You're like, yes. Sorry, I raised my hand. Can you step up here? I don't know. You good? Thank you. What's your name?
Veroshka.
Veroshka?
Veroshka.
Veroshka. It's nice to meet you. So what we're going to do, watch this. We're going to play a really quick game, okay? We're going to wake up our brains really fast. And we're going to do a little bit of a brain teaser. We're going to count to 3. I'm going to go 1. She's going to go 2. I go 3. And then she goes back to what? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So watch this. 1,
2,
3.
1,
2,
3,
1,
2.
3. Ready? Go. Where are you from?
Venezuela.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful.
Where are you from?
I'm from New York. Yeah,
New York.
yeah, it's really good.
Like, inviting me to this, so
Oh, good.
I'm very new.
Okay. All right, shh. Very good, shh. So when you hear me go, shh, everybody repeat after me. Shh. Very nice. Now, we're going to add 1 level to it. You're going to substitute the 1 for a clap. Okay? Substitute the 1 for a clap. So you start. 2.
3,
2.
3,
You see this? Wait, don't start yet. Wait. Watch this. We'll demonstrate.
2,
3, 2.
3.
All right, go.
Okay, that's the second one.
You got it. Okay, stop. Shh. Very nice. All right, 1 more level. Now you're going to continue to clap for 1, but number 2, you're going to make the sound of an animal. So watch this. So I go like this.
Meow.
3. Meow.
2.
3.
Oh, 3.
All right, go. Very good.
No, I messed up.
It's good. It makes it better. Okay, stop. Very good. Shh. Okay, finally, You keep the 1 and the 2. Those, now you're going to substitute the 3 for, you know how to do the twist? Show your partner how to do the twist. Go. Very good. So watch this. You start with 1. Meow.
Meow.
All right, go, 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 go. All right, stop, stop, stop. Give your partner a hug, high five, and have a seat. Thank you.
What's my name?
Nice way. There you go. Wait, stop, stop, stop. Oh. Okay, so all we're doing here is this. If you want to know the secret to a long-term memory, do this. Information combined with emotion becomes a long-term memory. Information, one more time. Information combined with what? Emotion becomes a long-term memory. And you know this because how many of you, let's say there's a song that goes on the radio or somewhere, and it takes you back to when you're years. Because information combined with emotion becomes a long-term memory. Maybe it's not a song. How many of you, it's a smell that could take you back to when you're a child? Or a food. You could eat like a food and it takes you back to when you're a kid, right? Because information alone is not very memorable, right? But information combined with emotion becomes a long-term memory in your brain. And you know this because back in school, what was the primary emotion you felt back in school? Sleepy. Boredom, right? Like half the class is bored, the other half of the class is confused. But on a scale of 0 to 10, boredom, what's that? 0. Information combined with emotion. If the emotion is 0, what's anything times 0? 0. And you wonder why you don't remember the periodic table, right? Or state capitals, or all the things we learned back in school. And so if, how many people have seen me on stage before? All right, so when I do different demonstrations, like with my memory, I always tell people, I don't do this to impress you. I do this to express to you what's really possible. Because the truth is, all of you could do it also. The only thing is you weren't taught how to do it. If anything, you were taught a lie that somehow your memory, your intelligence, your potential is fixed, like your shoe size. But we know that's not true. Like we've discovered more about the human brain more in the past 20 years than the previous 2,000 years combined. And what we found is we're grossly underestimating our own capabilities, our own potential. How many people believe we have more inside of us that's showing up, right? It's just that school doesn't teach you, like, how to learn it though, right? School is a great place to learn what to learn, math, history, science, Spanish. But how many classes were on how to learn? Like how to study, how to focus, how to listen, how to take notes, how to think, how to solve problems, how to think clearly, how to read faster, right? How to remember. I always thought it should have been the 4th R in school. What are the 3 R's in school? Reading, writing, arithmetic. But what about remembering, right? What about retention? What about recall, right? Socrates says learning is remembering because you can't have any kind of learning without remembering things. But the challenge is we have these like smartphones and we're outsourcing our brains to our smart devices all the time, right? It keeps your schedules. It keeps your to-dos. It keeps it does simple math for you. And it keeps all your phone numbers. Like, let me ask you a question. How many phone numbers did you know growing up? A lot, right? All of them. How many phone numbers do you know right now? You're lucky if you know 2 phone numbers, right? How many people have a phone number you call every day or you text every day, but you don't, honestly, if your phone is dead, you don't have your phone on you, you honestly do not know what that phone number is, right? And not that you don't want to memorize hundreds. I don't want to memorize hundreds of phone numbers, but we've lost the ability to remember just 1 or 2, right? And they call it digital dementia. Digital dementia. This idea where your brain is like this muscle and it grows stronger with use, but it's use it or lose it, right? Use it or lose it. If you put your arm in a sling for 6 months and you don't use it for 6 months, would it grow stronger? Would it even stay the same? What would happen to it? It's atrophy, right? It would grow weaker. And a lot of people's minds the same way, right? Their mental muscles are growing weaker, right? And so it's not getting the exercise because we're relying on our smart devices. And in a way, our smart devices are making us not so smart, right? Can you appreciate that? Also, with our smart devices, how many people feel like you're more distracted than ever? And that's a problem, right? Because your smart devices, when you're going there all the time, every app notification, social media alert, email, text, all this stuff going on, you're training your brain to literally rewired to not be able to focus. They say our focus now is less than a goldfish. All right, the goldfish is 9 seconds. Human beings are saying 8 seconds. That's how much attention people have nowadays. And we live in this world full of distraction, and you can't achieve your goals, be your best self, if you can't focus on the thing that's in front of you, right? Like when you're reading, how many people get distracted when you're reading all the time? And your mind starts to wander, right? Because you read so slowly, and that's a big challenge. So let me show you some really quick tips. You want to take notes on this, because I'm going to go this rapid fire. I'm going to teach you right now, and even if you've heard me say this before, remember, knowledge is not power, it's only potential power. It only becomes power when you utilize it. So if you can't do it and you're not doing it, I don't feel like you understand it. Is that fair? So I want to be your brain coach, right? You have a business coach, or some singers have a voice coach, or personal, for your body you have a personal trainer or coach. I want to be your mental coach, if you will. How many people would like that this time? Good. So here's the thing. There are 4 keys to learning any subject or skill faster. Think about a subject you'd love to master. Maybe it's marketing. Maybe it's martial arts. Maybe it's music. Maybe it's, Mandarin, another language. How many people here like to pick up another language, right? Any subject or skill. There are 4 keys to learning a subject or skill faster. I want you to remember this. F-A-S-T, fast. All right? And so the F stands for forget. If you want to learn something faster, you're like, Jim, this is a memory course. Why start with forgetting? I want you to temporarily forget about what you know about something. Is that fair? Because I find that you won't learn something faster if you feel like, what? You know it already. And so set aside what you know about something, because your mind is like a parachute. It only works when it's what? When it's open, right? And so you want to have an open mind. They call it a beginner's mind, right? The second thing you want to forget are situational things. And here's what I mean by that. Multitasking is a myth. For those of you, let me just straight out tell you, for those of you who think you're multitasking, you're not. All right? All the research says it's not possible. You could walk and chew gum and think about something, but you can't do 2 brain activities at once. Cognitive thinking, right? So if you think you're doing it, you're not. You're just switching from one thing to another. Is that fair? All right. So really what's called multitasking, it's task switching. That's the appropriate terminology. But here's the thing. Every time you go from one thing to another, it takes anywhere from 5 minutes to 20 minutes just to regain your focus. So you're actually losing ground. And the science is saying that you actually make more mistakes. All right. So I'm saying focus. Okay, completely focus. So here, when I say forget, the second thing I want you to forget is what else is going on in the world that's not important, right? So if you're thinking about the kids, you're thinking about your work, you're thinking about something you're going to do later today, just write it down. Don't resist it, because what you resist, what? Persist. What you resist, persist. Don't fight it. Just write it down, and just so you can focus. Because if you're thinking about 4 different things, it only gives you about 25% of your potential to learn this. You got it? The third thing that you want to forget are your limitations. Your limitations. And what I mean by that are your limits. So let me show you. Stand up real quick. Stand up. Make arm length distance from the person next to you. So move around. So if you go like this, you can't touch anything. I'm going to show you something we do with athletes. So move around, and you can't even touch the wall behind you. Now put your arms down. Jump up and down. Stop. Notice where your feet are. Now what I want you to do is pay close attention. Point forward with your right hand. Your other right hand. Okay, good. Now, without moving your feet, I want you to go clockwise as far as you could turn, and notice where you're pointing to comfortably. Turn, see how far you could go. Notice where you're pointing. Notice the spot comfortably. Come back. Put your arms down. Now watch this. Put your arms by your side. I'm going to show you something really, it's going to blow your mind. I want you to take a deep breath, exhale, and just close your eyes for a quick visualization exercise. I want you, with your eyes closed, to imagine, really imagine with your eyes closed, that you're turning again, but this time imagine see and feel yourself turning twice as far as you did the first time. Like you're made out of rubber, you're getting a really good stretch. And then again, with your eyes closed, imagine you're raising your arm again. Just imagine, but see and feel yourself this time turning 3 times around. See yourself turning 3 times around. What does that feel like in your body? Imagine. And if you can't imagine it, imagine you can imagine it. See and feel yourself turning 3 times around. And then one more time with a smile on your face thinking, what does this have to do with remembering names? See and feel yourself turning 4 times around, like you're Gumby. Best stretch of your life. Open your eyes. Raise your right hand, point forward. Turn to your right now as far as you can now go. Wow. Clap if you went further a second time. Have a seat. Have a seat. Now, here's the lesson here. How many people, raise your hand if you went further a second time. A lot of you went a lot further, right? 25, 50% further. Now, were you physically, here's the question. Were you physically capable of turning that far the first time? Like nobody took a yoga class when my eyes were closed, right? You're physically capable of it. Where was the limitation? If there was one, in your mind. And you're like, Jim, I don't have a belief on how far I could turn. How many beliefs do you think you have? Yeah, you have like the infinite, countless beliefs, right? And here's what you want to remember. If you believe you can or believe you can't, either way, what? You're right. Henry Ford said that. And that's the thing. Wayne Dyer said, it's not you'll believe it when you see it. It's the opposite. You'll see it when you believe it. And all we did was a simple exercise where we turned, and some of you went 25, 50% further with the same amount of effort, if not less effort. But what if you could earn 25 to 50% more this year? With how many people would be very happy about that? What if you could be 25, 50%, more healthy, more vibrant, more focused, a deeper relationship. And it was the same amount of effort, right? But where's the limitation is here. Now, this exercise we just did, we do with athletes, and business people do it also as well as this visualization, right? Like athletes, they don't just do physical training anymore. What do? They do mental training. Here's an example. Roger Bannister. What did Roger Bannister do in 1954? The 4-minute mile. So nobody could run a mile in less than 4 minutes, right? That's really fast. All of a sudden, he did it. Now, how he did it was not just physical training, because everyone was doing physical training, but he would actually mentally train himself. He would close his eyes, exactly what you just did, see himself in his mind's eye crossing the finish line, and he looks at a clock, and the clock says 3:59, right? Because he knows what you know, that it has to happen where? In here before it happens where? Out there, right? You're here because I see the reason why I love you for being here, and I know you're going to be successful regardless of this, is because you show up, right? Because the other part of it is playing full out. I look at you more as a thermostat, not a thermometer. A thermostat. You want to be a thermostat, you don't want to be a thermometer. Because what's a thermometer's function do? What's a thermometer do? Yeah, it just reacts to the environment, right? That's what it does, right? It reflects whatever the environment is giving it. And so if you're a thermometer in life, you're just reacting all the time. You're reacting to the weather. You're reacting to the politics. You're reacting to how people are treating you, right? And to be honest, we all get affected by that. But to the degree you're a thermostat, what's a thermostat do? It sets a temperature. It sets a goal. It sets a vision. And what happens to the environment? Right? It raises to meet that. And so how many people here rather be a thermostat and affect the environment as opposed to the environment affecting them, right? And so that's what the difference between, somebody who, you want an unconventional life. You wouldn't be here. You're at an event called the best you, right? So this is not like the mediocre you. This is not like this so-so, okay kind of you. But really where it starts is your belief. Right? So he was able to cross the finish line, 3:59 in his mind, then he did it in the external world. That didn't impress me, right? What impressed me was after that. Nobody could do it throughout human history. One person does it. What happens after that? Yeah, everybody starts running a sub 4-minute mile. Now, was there a big advancement in shoe technology and nutritional support and training methodology? What was the change? A change in belief. Right? Because you know what the belief was back then before he broke the 4-minute mile? is that you would die. It was actually impossible to run a 4-minute mile because your heart would explode in your chest. Like, how bad is that? If you believe that, would that keep you from running a 4-minute mile? Because here's what you want to write down. All behavior is belief driven. All behavior is belief driven. And how many people, the formula I think is this: be, do, have, share. That's the success formula, right? It doesn't work backwards. You can't have, here's the example. Somebody wins the lottery, right? This is almost comical, that's cliche. Somebody wins millions of dollars, they have millions of dollars. What happens after a handful of years? They're completely broke again, right? Because they had millions of dollars, but they didn't start being a millionaire. Does that make sense? It's be, do, have, share in that sequence, right? And so when I'm talking about all behavior is belief driven, if you want to have something, you have to do something, right? It just doesn't just happen, right? It's not just the law of attraction, there's a law of action, right? You have to do something also. So if you want to have something, you have to do something. But in order to do something, you need a belief, you need a belief that this is possible, right? Because so for example, I'm going to show you how to remember names. But if you have a belief saying, oh, I'm too old, is that going to affect your ability to remember names? Yes or yes? If you have a belief saying, I have a horrible memory, that's a problem too. Because here's the thing. All the time do people say to me, oh, Jim, I'm just getting older. Oh, this is happening. This runs in my family. Or, oh, I'm not smart enough. I'm not good in school. But here's what I want to tell you. If you fight for your limitations, you get to keep them. If you argue for your limits, they're yours, right? How many people believe that? I remember, so my last name really is Kwik. I didn't change it to do what I do. With my life was pretty much planned out. It was destined. I had to be a runner back in school, which is a lot of pressure because, you have Kwik right on your shirt. I have to be very careful when I'm driving because the worst name to have on your driver's license when you get pulled over for speeding is the name Kwik, because you're not going to talk your way out of that speeding ticket. And I get to do my mission, my dharma, which is teaching people how to learn faster, right? And so I remember I was preparing for my first marathon, and I was reading this book, and one chapter in the book was the psychology of running a marathon, right? The mental part. How many people have ever run a marathon before, right? Wow, that's amazing. So, we were a bunch of achievers, alphas. And so what I did was I read this chapter, and it started like this, and it said this word for word, because, I'm a memory expert. It said this. It said, your brain is like a supercomputer, and your self-talk is the program it will run. So if you tell yourself you're not good at remembering names, you will not remember the name of the next person you meet because you program your supercomputer not to. Right? Does that make sense? So that's why you need to monitor your self-talk, because here's the thing. Your mind is always eavesdropping on your self-talk. Your mind is always eavesdropping on your self-talk. That's at Jim Kwik if you're going to tweet that out.
If you're interested in speaking, exhibiting, or getting involved in the largest personal development expos in the world, contact us today at www.thebestyouexpo.com or send us an email to info@thebestyou.co.
But that's the thing. So you want to start there, all right? Because I believe success, 80% of it is your mindset. It really is. Like you're here you're successful, you're on your road to success, but what makes you, how many people here, honestly, you have friends and family who are like, why are you going to an expo this weekend? What's that about? Raise your hand if that's you, right? Because here's the thing, you can't do what everyone else does because you'll get what everyone else has, right? And really, because you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, right? And so that's the thing. The people that care about you the most are sometimes the people that hold you back because you're like, oh, why are you buying another book? Why are you listening to another podcast, right? But here's the thing. What you practice in private, you're rewarded for in public. Does that make sense? Like the work you do in private, like right now and back at home when everyone else is doing everything else, when you're doing that and you're hustling, you're building yourself, that's what shows up in the real world. And I believe that because, I was, are we connected anywhere on Instagram or anything? Anyone here? Like I was on set with Will Smith and I was posting on my like Insta story and stuff. And I remember I asked, this was just like 2 weeks ago, I asked him, like, how do you prepare? Like, how do you just Will Smith and just show up like that. Like, how do you prepare, like, when you have to wait all this time and they say, okay, let's roll, and you have to get prepared. And he's like, Jim, I don't have to get prepared. I don't have to get ready. He says this, I don't have to get ready, Jim. I stay ready. Like, isn't that amazing? Because here's what I believe. I believe the life that you live is the lesson you teach. The life you live is the lesson you teach, because people don't care what you say, because it's better well done than well said. And that's the truth, right? And so we see people based on what they do. And so if you live it, you're teaching all the time. Like, I never prepare for a talk. Wayne Dyer was the same way. It just, I remember asking him, he's like, Jim, it just flows through me. I'm just an open channel. It's no ego. I'm just here as a conduit to be able to share this. And I know this because a lot of people don't know I grew up with learning difficulties. I had a head injury when I was 5 years old. Very bad accident. And, I was found like I was bleeding, all kinds of things. I had learning difficulties all through school. And so I know what it's like to struggle and not have focus and not be able to read and not be able to understand things. And I struggled all through school till I was 18 years old. And I learned ways to compensate and to be able to go from below normal to maybe above normal. And that's what my mission is to help other people have better brains, because I was so upset that this wasn't taught back in school. So the F stands for forget. Forget about what you know, because you're about to learn something new. Forget about situational things so you could focus, and forget about your limitations, because you could go 25, 50% further. You get it? Even in every area of your life, because that's the thermostat that you're setting. And you could change your thermostat. Whatever money that you make right now, you might not want to hear it, but it means your thermostat is set for that level. Does that make sense? Because if your thermostat is set to paying the bills and making sure your rent and mortgage is paid and that, then you'll make that, right? But it starts with belief. And it really starts, I think, with self-love. Loving yourself enough to know that you deserve better, right? And it's okay. And going over all kinds of beliefs saying it's okay to make money, or it's okay to be healthier, it's okay to be loved. Because self-love and self-care is not selfish, right? I tend to attract a lot of people who are always helping everybody else. How many people here are the ones that your family goes to, your friends go to when they're in trouble, everything else, your clients, your customers? But you can't be a martyr for everybody and have nothing left in your cup, right? You need to grow so you have more to give. If you're always giving, you have no more. You're spent, right? But it's cliche. Like when you're in the airplane, you put whose mask on first? You put your own and then everybody else around you. So this is self-care. This is training, you taking care of you. And this is the most important time, right? Because if you don't take care of you, you can't take care of anybody else. So forget about everything else that's going on in the world. Take care of you. The A in FAST stands for active. You want to be active. Because here's the thing. When you want to learn something, you need to participate. So how can you be more active in learning? Just shout it out. Yeah, you take notes. You ask questions, right? You think about ways of sharing with other people. Because here's the thing. How many people feel like there's too much to learn, too little time? How many people have books on your shelf you haven't read yet? And it's like shelf help, not self-help. It's like sitting on the shelf, right? You're overloaded. How many feel like you're keeping up? It's like taking a sip of water out of a fire hose. Too much, right? And here's the thing. It's not your fault. And I'm here to say it's not your fault. It's because we all grew up with the 20th century education. And the 20th century education prepared us for a 20th century world at the turn of the century, it's working in factories and farms. Not the world we live in today, though. We live in an age of electric cars, spaceships. They're shooting up to Mars, right? But the vehicle we use to learn is like a horse and buggy. And that's why you feel like you're behind. But a 20th century education prepared you just to listen, to sit quietly by yourself, to consume information. And you don't learn by consuming information. You learn through creating. Like, we are all creatives, right? Until sometimes our school system, and here's the reason why you want to be right brain creative, is because everything is being outsourced, right? Everything is three things. This is the future. Watch this. 3 A's. Automation, AI, and Asia. Like, that's where everything is going. Things are going to be automated. So left brain jobs that could be automated, you're going to lose that job, right? Or lose that earning potential. AI is doing, like, smart devices are doing things like, you practically don't need, to be an accountant. You have software that could do this stuff, right? And then anything can be outsourced to a third world country. So you're never going to have, I think those are the three things that in terms of, where things are going. The three things that computers can't do, though, are three mental superpowers. Creativity, right? Imagination and strategy, right? So those where you want to invest. Empathy, right? So compassion. Those are things that you're not going to get from your smart devices or Alexa, or you know what I mean? And so those are superpowers that aren't really cultivated in school, because school is very left brain logical, SATs, right? Math and verbal, right? But what about all the other intelligences that exist, right? People come to me saying, Jim, how smart are my kids, or how smart am I? They're asking the wrong question. It's not how smart you are, it's how are you smart. It's not how smart you are, it's how are you smart. And that's the key, though, because I believe that there's multiple intelligence, that your IQ is not fixed like your shoe size. And also, I believe it can be raised. And also, it doesn't measure the full scope of who you are as a human being, right? So somebody could be good at math or verbal. That's great. But what about interpersonal intelligence? Is that important? Yes or yes? Be able to be good with people. Is that a form of genius? What about intrapersonal intelligence? People who are really good with themselves, right? Self to self. What about musical intelligence, right? Is that a superpower, yes or yes? What about kinesthetic intelligence, like body intelligence? Great athletes, great dancers. Is that a form of genius? Yes, but does a standardized test, does that measure that? Not at all, right? What about visual, visual spatial intelligence? Great artists, architect, graphic designers. Is that a form of intelligence, right? So you have all these other forms of intelligence. And so what I believe is not how smart you are, it's how are you smart, right? And so if I ask you to write your first and last name on a piece of paper, you could do that if you're writing on a piece of paper. Do it now. Write your first and last name if you have a piece of paper. And then when you're done, switch hands, and with the opposite hand right below it, your first and last name. And then show your neighbor. So what does that look like? Some of you still writing, right? But here's the thing, but you feel it, the difference, right? Which one was faster, number one or number two? Number one. Which one was more comfortable, number one or number two? Number one. Which one was better quality, number one or number two? You're like, Jim, I have very bad handwriting. It looks the same to me. But so notice number two, though, took longer, right? When you're not writing with your dominant hand, took longer. It feels less comfortable, and the quality is not as good. But let me ask you a question when you're learning something. How many people here, in the past, there's been a subject you're really, really interested in, but for some reason you're in a class and you're just not getting it, right? Because the teacher, get this, maybe the way you prefer to learn it is different than the way the teacher prefers to teach it. And you're like two ships in the night, in the dark, and you pass each other. And you don't even really connect. You don't even know the other one's there. There's no learning there because you're trying to learn it with the opposite hand. So it takes longer and it's more uncomfortable, right? And the quality is not quite as good. But if you learn how you learn when you're at your best, the best you, your best brain ever, then you can apply that towards everything, towards learning a language, towards focusing on work, towards getting things done, towards giving a speech, without notes. But the key is you need to be active. So the A in fast is active. Here's what you want to remember. Learning is not a spectator sport. Learning is not a spectator sport. Life is not a spectator sport, right? You can't sit on the benches. You need to get involved. The S in fast, and this is probably the most important part of the equation for mastering your mind. The S in fast is state. State. Because here's the thing. When I say state, what do I mean? Yeah, it's just like how you feel, right? The essence of you, your mood. Remember I said information is not enough? Right? Information plus what? Emotion becomes a long-term memory. Music, food, all the fragrant, things that put you in an emotional state are the things that you remember. You don't remember things that are boring and dull, right? So who controls how you feel? Who controls? This is the active part, guys. Yeah, you control how you feel. For example, right now, stand up and just put a big smile on your face, like your $1 billion smile. And just look up, put your big $1 billion smile. And just up your level in terms of how you feel, right? Feel like whatever you're feeling on a scale of 0 to 10, make it higher. Now, yeah. So turn to your neighbor and show them your $1 billion smile. Both your neighbors, go back and forth. Right? Now have a seat, have a seat. Now how many people feel a little better? Yes or yes? Because you control your state. Recently, I talk a lot about superheroes, right? Because I told you I couldn't read growing up as a kid, and I taught myself how to read by reading comic books. Something about comic books brought the words to life, and, you know, after this, I'm going to go to, there's a WonderCon in Anaheim, and I love geeking out and, you know, dressing up like superheroes. But I talk about superpowers, right? That I think if knowledge is power, learning is your superpower. And it's a genius that you all have inside of you. But just nobody shows you how to unleash that superpower. Like how often is it you get together like a group here and spend an hour talking about genius, right? And whispering, you know, masterminding with each other and showing each other how to be the best version of yourself. But recently I got to introduce two of my superheroes together, modern day superheroes. It was Richard Branson and Stan Lee. You know, they wanted to meet each other, and we went out to dinner. And in the car, and I posted a picture on Instagram, I'm in the car with Stan. Now Stan Lee, right? Not Stan Lee. Who's Stan Lee? He created what? Right, yeah. He created Spider-Man, X-Men, Fantastic Four, Avengers, right? All the, you know, like Black Panther, all these characters. And, you know, I asked him who's favorite. He's like, Iron Man. And he's like, Jim, who's your favorite? And Stan, you'll see in the picture, has a picture of of Spider-Man on his tie. And I'm like, oh, Spider-Man. And without a pause, he goes, Jim, with great power comes what? And you all know that, right? Great responsibility. And I have dyslexia, right? So I always switch things in my mind. It's one of my learning difficulties, especially when I was a kid. And I switch things automatically. And I was like, Stan, you're right. With great power comes great responsibility. When you're in a position of power, you have a responsibility to wield that power to serve, to make impact, right? To be a servant. And I reversed it though. I was like, you know, with great power comes great responsibility. And the opposite is also true. With great responsibility comes great power. Now let that hit home for a while. Like with great responsibility, when we take responsibility for something, we have great power to make things better. Is that true? And the thing is how many people here are entrepreneurs or want to be entrepreneurs? Right? Wow, huge. Now your values probably are freedom, right? You want to do what you want, when you want, with who you want, for as long as you want, wherever you want, right? Because you want the freedom, right? All those things like yes, yes, yes. But here's the thing, when it comes to discipline, maybe, you know, it's like, oh, I don't want to do those things because it's like a prison. But I'm telling you, if you can't get yourself to do the things you know is good for you, meditation, right? Journaling, you know, singing or working out or eating a good diet or making those calls or doing the work, right? The deep work that you know, what you practice in private, rewarded for in public. If you can't get yourself to do that, then you're in prison. Right? Because I believe discipline equals freedom. Discipline equals freedom. Because if you can't do this stuff, see, here's the thing. Like if you walk away with one thing, like you're like, what does this have to do with memory? This has everything to do with memory. Do people see this? Does this have everything to do with like achievement and learning, right? Because how you do anything is how you do everything. How you do anything is how you do everything. One of the most popular podcast episodes we did, every podcast is 10 minutes long, is my morning routine. Because I believe if you want to win the day, you got to win that first hour of the day. You know what I mean? Win that first hour, you got momentum, and you won that day. But you had to win that first hour. And the most successful people, yes, you have your to-do list. Raise your hand if you have a to-do list. And the most successful people also have a not to-do list. They have a list of things they will not do. Because you have to say no to good so you can say yes to what? To great. Right? Because you could do anything, but you can't do what? Everything. And here's the thing. If you have brain fog, if you have mental fatigue, if you're tired all the time and you complain about it, part of it is your own responsibility because you're taking on too much. Now, I'm talking to you as a coach, right? This is not a feel-good, positive thing. I'm saying you're taking on too much stuff, and that's why you're tired. Does that make sense? You're over-committing to things, and that's why you wonder why you have no energy because you're not taking care of yourself. Right? And you need a longer to-do list, not to-do list than you have a to-do list. Like one of the things you should not do the first hour of the day, and that's like, there's a viral video that has like 3 million views of me talking about this. Don't look at your phone the first hour of the day. And again, you're like, Jim, I love you up to this point. But honestly, how many people you get addicted to your phone? Everybody, right? And if you're honest, right? Because you check your phone, the average person spends 4.5 hours a day on their phone, right? More than half of their work week. It's an addiction. And I'm telling you, the reason why you don't want to pick up your phone the first hour of the day is because when you wake up in the morning, you're in this alpha state, this alpha theta state. It's a relaxed state of awareness. For those of you who have hypnosis, know this is the deep state where your unconscious is very available. Your subconscious is there. You're not filtering. The critic is not there. And if you're picking up your phone, you're most suggestible. And you're training yourself to be two things. Number one is training you to be distracted. Right? Every social media alert, app update, everything else is training your brain with these dopamine fixes. One of the episodes I did was a 2-parter on how to change your habits. Right? This is a free podcast, right? And so you could download it on your phone. It's number 1 on Apple and training. The reason why you listen to is this interview I did with Dr. BJ Fogg. He's the number 1 habits guy at Stanford in the country, right? And he was saying, like, one of his students created Instagram. How addictive is Instagram? Right? We open it 150 times a day, right? So that's an addiction. That's a habit, right? So that's what they want you to do. But you get these dopamine fixes every time you get a like, a share, a comment. And the dopamine fix is your happy hormone. It's the motivation learning track in your nervous system. So every time you get that dopamine fix, you're getting more and more motivated on things like cat videos, right? Things that really don't matter. So you're training yourself to be distracted for things that don't matter. The second thing that is training you every single morning to do is training you to be reactive. This is so huge, so huge. Get this. If you're checking your phone the first hour of the day, before you think about the things that are important to you, and you're looking at your text messages, your voice messages, your email, messages, everything that everybody wants from you, and you're fighting fires. When you wake up, all you need is one email to throw off your whole day. How many people get this, right? And when you're in that relaxed state, and you're so suggestible, and you get one email or message, and you're basically fighting fires, you're not designing your day. Does that make sense? For me, I have 3 things. By the way, Brendon Burchard, right? He's an avid reader, reads a book a week, 50 plus books a year, avid reader. He says this, he says, your inbox is nothing but a convenient organizational system for other people's agenda for your life. Does that make sense? So why on earth would you start your day with other people's agenda? For me, I have 3 work things and 3 personal things that I write down in the morning that I want to do. And that's it, right? And I won't check my messages until I get one of those things done. And that's it. Is that fair? Why would you start your day being distracted and being reactive, and then you wonder throughout the day why you're reacting to things all the time and why you're always distracted all the time is your smart device, right? You need to break up with your phone. Right? Because I'm not saying don't use it to communicate and everything else like that, but exercise some self-discipline there, because how you do anything is how you do everything, right? So when coming back to this responsibility, right, where responsibility gives you power, Stan Lee and Richard Branson, is this. The most important thing is to be responsible for how you feel, which is the S in FAST, which is your state. Because all learning is state dependent. For example, right now, sit the way you'd be sitting if you're really interested in what I was saying. You found it very valuable. You were anticipating what I was going to say. Sit the way you'd be sitting. Now, why do you even have to move? Right? But by the way, to change your state, you just change your physiology. It affects your psychology, right? And so why not do that more often and you'll learn faster, right? Because when you're slumped down, you're like this and you stop breathing, literally 1/3, the lower 1/3 of your lungs absorbs 2/3 of your oxygen. And you wonder why you have brain fog and you have mental fatigue and you're getting tired, as most of us aren't monitoring this, right? So monitor your state. And finally, the T in FAST. F stands for forget what you know. The A stands for be active in it. S is monitoring your feelings, your state. The T is teach. Teach. I never learn anything that I want to learn without the intention of sharing it with somebody else. Does that make sense? I'm going to share with you a couple of tips on how to boost your memory right now. But if you just learn it for yourself, you're only going to do so much with it. But if you had to give a presentation on Monday morning to a friend, to your family, to your coworkers, and you had to share it to somebody and teach it, would you learn it better? Yes or yes? Would you have better focus? Yes or yes? Would you take better notes? Would you ask better questions? right? So why not learn that way as if you're going to teach it to someone else? Now, by the way, everything I'm saying, can you agree it's common sense? But here's what I'm saying. Common sense is not common practice. All right, a coach could tell you, hey, you should eat right, you should move every single day, you should get 7-8 hours of sleep, you should drink 8 hours of water. It's common sense, but common sense is not common practice. And what makes the difference with you and the people who aren't here is you take this action, right? But then just coming to a class or buying a book, that doesn't do it, right? That's almost worse. Right? You're spending the money and the time and everything, and you're not employing it, and you're not getting the benefit. You don't want to do that, right? So learn with the intention of teaching somebody else. All right? So FAST. Does everybody got that? Now, you came here to improve your memory. There are 3 keys to boosting your memory. If you're ever forgetting something, what you read, a conversation you had, anything else, forgetting somebody's name, one of these 3 things is missing. I'm going to go through it really fast. You want to remember this, MOM, M-O-M. And if you heard me say this before, if you're not doing it, you don't know it. So I'm telling you, there's a difference between dabbling in something and really mastering it. You want to master your mind? This is the most important thing. You know why? Nobody in this room is paid for you're not paid for your brute strength, are you? You're paid for your what? Your brain strength. Nobody here is paid for your muscle power. You're paid for your what? Your mind power, right? And so you want to invest in this. But you use what percentage of your brain's potential? What percent? Like Einstein said 10%. I saw later 2% from Stanford University. I read recently 1/10,000th of 1%. That you have enough brain power to last you 1,000,000 lifetimes, right? Now, I believe you actually use all your brain, but some of us use it more efficiently than somebody else, other people. Does that make sense? And so you shouldn't be working so hard to read. You shouldn't be working so hard to study. You shouldn't be working so hard to focus all the time. Like my job here is, I believe if you do the hard things in life, life is easier.
Having promoted more than 600 speakers and more than 65,000 people attend my seminars and courses and workshops and expos, having read so many books and attended so many courses, I really realized that the basics of personal, professional growth is based on the power of the question. Asking yourself empowering questions. Read my new book, The Question, Find Your True Purpose. It's based on my work, 30 years of entrepreneurship, all the experiences that I have, my manifesto, and what's really important. So for more information, go to www.thequestion.co.
Right? But most of us do the easy thing in life. Now let me call you on your stuff, because we're all guilty of it. I'm certainly guilty of this. But when you procrastinate and you put things off and you do the easy things, life becomes hard. Right? Is that true? You put off that conversation with that employee. You put off that conversation with that, your significant other. You put off, your taxes. You put off whatever it is. You take the easy road. Life is always going to show you that's hard. But if you do the difficult thing, the thing that you know you should do, then life becomes easier. Yes or yes, right? And that's what you want to develop, is develop your grit, right? Develop your, like one of the things I talk about in my podcast is cold therapy, right? I go into this cryotherapy, these cold plunges and stuff, and it's cold. Have anyone done this, like ice baths or cryo? Like I do it not only for the lower the inflammation in my body, but I do it because I'm like, oh man, I want to get out of this but healthfully. But then I say, okay, I can do one more minute. Because if I could do it there, I could do it elsewhere in my life. You know what I mean? Because if you place limits on other areas of your life, it'll happen in other areas. Does that make sense? Because how you do one thing is how you do everything. So you constantly build your resilience and your grit, right? But so when I learned this, this really comes from building, it's not just about mental intelligence. Like we have the most, successful, these online programs. We have an online speed reading course, an online memory course, academic success program. We have a 30-day focus program that will blow your mind, right? But it's not just improving your mental intelligence, facts, figures, formulas. It's about improving your mental fitness, right? How many people here just want a younger brain? More stronger. Like I had somebody the other day, I saw him on the street. They're like, Jim, I went through your memory course. Like, I got to tell you something. It's like, have you ever hid something so well you can't find it? Like you come up with a password maybe that's so clever, and then you don't even remember what it is. This woman, she was given a family heirloom, a necklace by her grandmother, and she hid it somewhere in her home. And for 3 years, she couldn't find it. It was given to her, not her mother, not her 3 sisters, her. And she had so much shame, so much guilt, so much stress because she thought it was stolen, it was lost forever. But she went through this online memory course, and then 2 o'clock in the morning one night, she wakes up in the morning, runs down 2 flights of stairs behind, in the basement behind this boiler, and pulls out what? The necklace, right? And I was like, well, we didn't teach you how to find misplaced things. She was like, Jim, I don't know what it is, but after going through this training, I have better focus. I'm remembering names. I'm not even using a technique. Thank you so much for giving me my brain back. You know what I mean? Because that's how your brain should work. It's just it's overloaded and it's distracted because your devices. The amount of information is doubling at dizzying speeds, but how we learn it, retain it, that creates stress, right? Because too much to learn, too little time, distraction, and digital dementia, right? So here's the 3 keys that are going to improve your memory. Remember this, MOM, M-O-M. Remember MOM. Let's say, raise your hand if you want to be better at remembering names, because this is going to help you remember names faster. Good. Now let's imagine there's a suitcase here, $1 million cash for you or your favorite charity, tax-free. It's yours. Go home with it. If you just remember the name of the next stranger you meet. Raise your hand if you're going to remember that person's name. Look around. Now, how come we have a room full of memory experts all of a sudden, right? Now, here's the thing. As your coach, I'm calling you on your BS. It had nothing to do with your capabilities. Is that true? It had everything to do whether you what? You wanted to or not. The M in MOM stands for motivation. What is your motive for taking action? Right? Because you don't forget all names. You remember some names, don't you? People you're attracted to, people who could be good for your business, people that are interested. You have a motivation there. Remember, information combined with emotion or motivation improves your memory, right? So what I would do is ask yourself, why do you want to remember this person's name? Why do I want to remember this person's name? Literally, that's what you say to yourself. Maybe it's to show this person respect. Maybe it's to make a new friend. Maybe it's to make a deal, right? Get a new client. Or maybe it's just to practice these things I learned from Jim Kwik, right? Because here's the thing. If you can't come up with a reason, what's going to happen? You're not going to remember the name. Isn't that simple? Just ask yourself, why do I want to remember this thing? Because here's what you want to write down. Reasons reap results. Reasons reap results. Rewards, big rewards. I believe there's a success formula to achieve anything you want in life. How many people want to know what it is? That's it? Achieve anything you want in life, right? H cubed, 3 H's. Head, heart, hands. That you could visualize things in your head all day. You could set goals in your head. You could affirm things in your head, self-talk, everything. But if you're not acting with your hands, how many people are guilty of that? You set a goal for your health or your weight or your income or whatever it is, and you're not doing what you need to do with your hands, check in with the second H, which is your what? Your heart. Heart is emotion, the energy of motion, right? Start with why. One of my favorite business books by Simon Sinek, start with why. Start with your why, right? So come up with why do you want to remember a person's name. The O. Let me show you this. Everyone look at me, do this. Shake out your right hand, put your pen down. Shake out your right hand. Everybody, make a fist, put it to your chin. Now come on, where's your chin? The O in MOM stands for observation. Observation. A lot of people, they blame their memory issues. They blame their retention. It's not your retention. It's your attention. Let me say it again. It's not your retention. It's your attention. There's a picture on Instagram, and I drop a lot of names. It's not because of the celebrity of it. It's because when you think about these people or you see them in the TV or whatever it is, it will remind you of the lesson. Does that make sense? So on my Instagram, I post a picture of me. I was at a fundraiser, and it was 2,000 people. I got assigned to this table. I go to the table, and I'm the first one there. And after that, Forrest Whitaker sits down right next to me. And you might have seen this picture on Instagram. After him, Richard Branson, Ashton Kutcher, Ashton Kutcher's twin brother, which I didn't know he had a twin brother. And then 20 minutes into dinner, President Bill Clinton sits right next to me. And this is the second time I had a chance to meet him. The first time was very, very brief, but he remembered my name. And he remembered also our last conversation. Now, is that mind-blowing? Now, regardless of your political beliefs and ideology, do you believe that President Clinton is a great communicator, a great, connector? charisma. He also has a phenomenal memory. And I remember asking him, like, I'm the memory guy. Like, what tricks are you using? And he's like, Jim, I'm not using any memory tricks. It's just, growing up in Arkansas, my grandfather told stories to all the kids in the living room. But afterwards, he would quiz each of us to see if we were paying attention and we were really listening. He told us all these stories. And when he's telling me these stories, I noticed something. I felt funny about it, though. I couldn't figure out what it was. It's just like he was really paying attention to me. Do you know what I mean? Have you ever been with somebody and even if you're in a room full of people, they're focused right on you. They're not looking over your shoulder and seeing who's more important or talking to themselves. But those are those things we normally do sometimes when we're meeting somebody? And so I was just like, even though there are more important people in the room, certainly at that table, but I felt like I was the only one there. And I realized that his incredibly powerful presence, his incredible memory, and his powerful presence with people came from being powerfully present with people. Does that make sense? That if you want a better memory and you want more presence, a powerful presence, be more present with people. And most of us don't do that. We're looking around, seeing who's more important, or we're not looking around, we're in our own minds, right? Most of you, if you're truthful, you're not really listening. You're thinking about how you're going to respond to that person, right? But my favorite book, one of my favorite business books, is Dr. Stephen Covey. He wrote what? 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. These are the habits highly effective people share in common. One of the habits, seek first to understand, then to be understood. How many people are in sales? Raise your hand. Like business development? Nothing sells like sincere interest in people. It's not about being interesting. It's about being interested. And people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And it's really hard to care for somebody about their family, their future, their health, their finances, whatever it is you're selling them, if you don't care enough just to remember what? Their name. A name is the sweetest sound to a person's ears. So the O is observation, right? Because most people aren't listening. They're just waiting for their turn to talk, right? Even write down the word listen or type the word listen down. Write it down. And then mind bender here. Scramble the letters. What other word does it spell perfectly? Silent. Isn't that crazy? The word listen, when you scramble the letters, spells the word silent perfectly. So just be still, be present with somebody, be silent, because that's the greatest gift, is your presence with people. Right? And by the way, when I'm talking about having a good memory, I'm not talking about visualization and all the other techniques. I'm saying M is motivation, O is observation. I'm just saying be motivated and care for somebody, and the O is observe and be present with them. I'm just saying be a good person, right? Isn't that true though? Just care about somebody and pay attention to them, and you're going to remember them without any technique. Does that make sense? But the last M in MOM stands for mechanics. Mechanics. And those are the techniques. Those are the strategies. For those of you who've gone through my courses, I teach people how to learn a language 3 times faster. I teach people how to read 3 times faster, have 3 times better focus, 3 times better understanding and comprehension of what you read, be able to retain what you read better, right? But I put that last because I feel like if you don't want to be that person and you're not just present, then the mechanics come second. Now, if the mechanics are really good, though, they help you to be a better person and they help you to pay attention better. Does that make sense? Because that's what I train people to do so they show up. Remember, the life you live is a lesson you teach. All right? Now, just really quick, somebody asked me about why they can't read faster. How many people are the same way? You want to read faster? I'm going to tell you the obstacle really that gets in the way. You think it's your focus, or you think maybe it's your lack of education, or maybe you're backskipping, rereading words, and that's all part of it. Maybe it's your limiting beliefs. But let me tell you the big obstacle to your reading is your self-talk. Watch this. It's called sub-vocalization. Sub-vocalization. What's sub-vocalization? How many people notice when you're reading something? How many people like to read more every day? Is it important? Yes or yes? Readers or leaders? Readers or leaders? I mentioned Brendan Burchard, reads a book a week. Tony Robbins, very fast reader. Oprah, very strong reader. Bill Gates, very fast reader, right? John F. Kennedy, President Kennedy, he's very fast reader. He said to read 6 newspapers every morning with 1 cup of coffee. Most people, it's the opposite. It takes 6 cups of bulletproof coffee to get through 1 newspaper, right? Because the reading is so slow. But here's why I love reading. I'm going to invite you to join our upcoming reading program. is because all these authors that are speaking that have books, right? They have decades of experience, right? Decades. And if you could sit down and they put all that information in a book, and you could sit down in a day or 2 or 3 and read that book, you could download decades in days. How many people like that, right? How many people here like to, I read a book a day, and I have for 4.5 years. 4.5 years, right? And I read these books, right? Our students read these books. I remember a few years back, I get a call from somebody I don't know one Friday evening, and they were like, Jim, I have an emergency. Please help me. And I was like, what is it? And he says, I got your name from this mutual friend, and our speaker tomorrow canceled, can't make it out to speak, and we need a speaker. And I'm like, oh, sorry. I mean, I booked 6 months in advance. But she's like, please, please, please. I'm like, well, what's the topic, right? What's the subject? What is he speaking on? And he tells me what the topic is, and I was like, I don't know anything about that. Why are you calling me, right? He's like, yeah, but he wrote a book. And I'm like, so? He's like, well, I hear you're a speed reader. You see where this is going, right? And he's like, can you come a little bit early and I have a copy of the book for you? And I'm like, oh, this is really going to cost you. So I go early at 10 o'clock. I read the book. I retain the book, right? And I speak at 12 o'clock. And humbly, it was their highest rated speech of the entire conference. I've never had like 1 minute of public speaking training. It's just, I'm very passionate about learning, right? And I retain the information. I want to share it. And here's the thing. When you read correctly, your attention goes up. Your comprehension goes up. I don't teach people how to skim or scan. Has anyone ever taken a speed reading course before? Traditional speed reading is scanning, skipping words, getting the gist of what you read. Right? It's been around for decades. I'm not talking about that. Like my students run countries and companies and their medical you don't want your medical doctor to get the gist of what she's reading. I promise you don't want that, right? And so we teach people how to read faster. But the obstacle to effective reading is this, sub-vocalization. And this is what it is. You notice when you're reading to yourself, you hear that inner voice inside your head reading along with you? You hear that voice inside your head? Hopefully it's your own voice. It's not like somebody else's voice in there. You don't hear 2 or 3 voices. The reason why it's an obstacle is if you have to say all the words in order to understand the words, you can only read as fast as you could speak. That means your reading speed is limited to your talking speed, not your thinking speed. That's why a lot of you, when you listen to podcasts and audiobooks, you could put it at 1.5 or 2x. You listen to it faster, but you can't talk that fast, right? But you can think that fast. But here's the question. Do you have to say the words to understand what the words mean? I say a word like, you have to say New York City to understand what New York City is? No more than when you see a stop sign, do you have to say stop. Nobody here does that when you drive because 95% of the words in your books are what they call sight words. Words you know by sight, you don't have to pronounce it by sound. And that's the secret to reading faster, right? The fastest readers don't say the words, they experience the words, right? And a picture is worth what? 1,000 words. That's a lot of comprehension. So how many people here would like to read 3 times faster? How many people here like to have 3 times focus? Right? Not get distracted. How many people also like to retain what they read, understand what they read 3 times better? All right. So here's what I like to do is invite you to this. They asked me, they said, the people who are coming here are the best of the best, right? These are the people that care about their lives. They know if they want their business to be better, they have to be better. And it starts with what? Their brain. And leaders are readers, right? If you could read just a book a week, that gives you the biggest advantage in the world. The average person has to read 4 hours a day. Can you relate to that? Emails, websites, books, newspapers. If you could just double your reading speed and save 2 hours a day, what's 2 hours a day over the course of a year? It's a lot of math, right? Let's say you save 1 hour a day. What's 1 hour a day over the course of a year? 365 hours. Like, how many 40-hour work weeks is that? 9, a lot. 9 40-hour work weeks. How many people would love to get 9 weeks back every single year? 2 months of productivity, saving 1 hour a day on something ubiquitous like reading. All right? So I want to invite you to this. On April 2nd, we are going to be doing a live reading program every day for 10 minutes a day for 21 days. It takes how long to change a habit? About 21 to 30 days. So it's going to be online, 21 days. You can do it at any time during that day, 10 minutes a day. And my guarantee in those 21 days, 3 weeks, you will triple your reading speed. Triple it. Now, here's the thing. There is an investment for this, all right? And our courses online are $1,000. They are $1,000. How many people feel like it'd be worth $1,000 if you could triple your reading speed and be able to save, 2 months of productivity every single year, right? So that's a no-brainer, right? Because time is money and reading takes time, right? But it's not $9.97. It's not $4.97. Here, we're giving everybody a discount as a thank you for showing up here in this program for $197. All right, $197, money back guarantee. You will triple your reading speed. Read something in 15 minutes or 20 minutes that normally takes an hour. And you retain it better because it's not just speed reading, it's smart reading. And my goal, my promise to you is you'll read 1 book a week. And that's 52 books a year. Now think about what you would order on Amazon or go to Barnes & Noble. Books on health, relationships, right? One of my very first students 25 years ago, she read 30 books in 30 days. 30 books in 30 days. I wanted to find out not how she did it. I want to know why she did it. By the way, to get this deal, it's on their website right there, okay? It's up to just today. Or there's order forms and invites in the back. Now, here's the thing. I want to know not how she did it, 30 books in 30. How many people here like to read 30 books in 30 days? Here's the key. Like, think about what you would read. Sales, relation. Is there a book, basically, that's been written to solve any problem out there? I wanted to find out why she did it. I found out that her mother was dying of terminal cancer. How many people know somebody who has cancer? This is hard for me to talk about a lot, but what happened was her mother was dying of terminal cancer. Doctors gave her 60 days to live, 2 months to live. And the books she was reading were books on health, wellness, energy, books to help save her mom's life. I told her I say prayers, keep her in thoughts. 6 months later, I get a call. The phone rings. And this young woman, she's crying. She's crying. And I can't get a word out of her. When she stops crying, I find out they're tears of joy. That her mother not only survived, but is really getting better. Doctors don't know how. They don't know why. They called it a miracle. But her mother attributes it 100% to the advice she got from her daughter, who learned it from all these books. And that's the moment I realized that if knowledge is power, learning is your superpower. And it's a superpower we all have inside of us. Reading is a skill. If you're a bad reader, poor reader, you hate reading, it's not your fault. How old were you last time you took a reading class? How old were you? 6, 7 years old? You learned really bad habits, self-vocalization. Teacher said, okay, read quietly to yourself. That's where you took that external voice and you put it inside. This 21-day program is how to eliminate that self-vocalization, reduce that self-vocalization. And I teach you how to do it in a fun way. In 10 minutes of learning with me like this, and in 10 minutes of practice. But how many of you want to read 10 minutes a day anyway? So you just choose the book, whatever you're reading that's on your shelf you haven't read yet, and you'll probably read 3 or 4 books during that course, and you'll know it better than actually spending time with that author. I've had so many people that have gone through 7 Habits of Highly Effective People's training. They pay hundreds or thousands of dollars to go to that course, live training. And they said, I think I'm more out of the book because the book has more information than anyone could ever teach. But most people don't finish that book, right? Or even they read it 2 days later, they forget all of it. So this is not just about speed reading, it's about smart reading. So right now you get a 60% discount by being here today. Instead of $4.97, $1.97, triple money back guarantee, meaning if you don't triple your reading speed and your comprehension, your understanding, your retention, you get your money back, or no questions asked, all right? Plus, I'm going to upgrade everybody here to lifetime access. So even if you don't go through it for the 21 days, if you want to do it 21 months from now, you have it for you and your family. Is that fair? Yes or yes? And if I ever upgrade it, you get access to that also as well, all right? So my goal is your success is my success. I'll end with this. The invitation forms are in the back. Can you raise your hand if the invitation forms are there? And I'll be in the back there there's a bookstore there. I'll be there just answering questions and everything else like this. I'll leave you, or you go to this website by the end of the day today. It's only for people here. Please don't share it for you and your families. Here's the last thing I'll leave you with. I compare your life to an egg. That if an egg, think about it. If an egg is broken by an outside force, life ends, right? But if an egg is, so here's the thing. Because you're all videotaping this. If your life is like an egg, if an egg is broken by an outside force, life ends. But if your egg is broken by an inside force, life begins. All great things begin on the inside. And you have greatness inside of you. You have genius inside of you. And now is the time to let it out. Thank you very much.
Oh, yeah. Let's hear it for Jim Kwik. Jimmy Kwik, I got to shake your hand. Thank you very much.
For more information, go to www.thebestyou.co.